size my screen and turn that off. So let's take a look. Where am I? Just about there. Hold on. Okay. All right, let's take a look at this screen as well. And here we go. We've got, well, I have Coeur d'Alene up there, so I might as well talk about that. I am long a little bit of this miner. CDE is the symbol. And do I have the screen size properly? Looks like maybe I do, but let's just get a little bit more organized, and that should make it look better. So anyways, let's take a look at the market first. Obviously, we had a strong sell-off here first thing this morning. It took a lot of people by surprise. We did cut through this first level of support at about 105.65 or so, and then we sliced down through this level as well that I identified as potential support at 105.40. Now we're heading back down towards the lows. Really, what's important here is that we're right on this trend line that's been intact for this month. Basically, this is the trend line for the month of September. Today, obviously, being the last day. When I look at this SPY chart right now, the thing that gives me a little bit of concern, I guess, is that we have this resistance up at 108, so we have these highs up here, and now we have a lower high at 107. So we have lower highs. Now if we break this 104, we'll have lower lows on the intermediate term time frame as well, and that's not obviously something that's going to be good for the bulls. But looking at the daily time frame to keep it into perspective, and let me move this down before people complain. Let's see if we get that. I don't know why it's so bad, but anyway, that's going to be as good as it gets for now. I don't know why the screening is changed. This software had me download a new version today, but we're still within an uptrend here. We've come a long way real fast from the March lows. That's something we've been talking about for a while. But that bigger trend line is obviously still intact. We can even take a trend line off of these July lows and look in here and say, well, that's kind of, we're kind of slicing through it right now. That's kind of what's holding for this market. So I think what looms lower is probably this 50-day moving average. We haven't really had a test of that since about mid-June, and breaking the 104 level I think would bring about a pretty quick test of that. The 104 level does take on some added significance here as well, because it is the location of this prior resistance, and of course we had those as lows last week. So back to the 30-minute time frame, we have real reason for keeping our guard up. The quarter is ending. We've got earnings reports that'll begin next week, and then they'll start coming out a lot quicker. Basically, about the third week of October is a real strong week for earnings coming out. So we're getting a little bit of a lift here, as you can see that off that line. We're getting a little bit of a green candle. Let's take a look at a 1-minute time frame. We're still below, you can see the daily VWAP. So this is the average, the volume-weighted average price for today only. And by the way, I wrote an article for SFO magazine that was in last month's, I think, magazine. But anyways, in conjunction with that, SFO magazine asked me to do a webinar for them, which is today. After the close, 30 minutes after the close. I'll be talking about moving averages. It'll be pretty basic, but for somebody that don't understand, how they're used or the psychology of them, that sort of thing, I'll post a link later, and you can get involved. But I will be talking about the volume-weighted average price a little bit as well, which is what we see here. We saw the market, initially came down, tested daily S2, did get a little bit of a bounce, but that failed to hold. We've gone sideways. It seems as though we've kind of worn the sellers out for a little bit, and we're just getting a bounce within a downtrend. The 10-minute time frame, we broke hard in here, and I think that this market really last week, the tone of the market changed really with research in motion. I think we can look back at that and say that's kind of what really got the tone of the market a little bit more defensive, because we had seen this big leader that everyone's in love with come in and say that their revenues were going to be light, or whatever it was. They warned something. I didn't read it. I just read the headline, and this, all that you need to see is the reaction. Reading the headline and trying to interpret it and saying whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense to you is really pointless. Analysts can debate it all day long, but you look at price action, it's broken. Today, though, the big story is really the CIT group that yesterday had such a big run up, and then today, concerns about them going forward, I guess. And this stock had a phenomenal run yesterday. It was up from $1.60 to $2.20, and you've got to be really careful with these little junk stocks. I trade them, and when I see the market, when I see the S&P, oil's really cranking. By the way, let's take a look at oil just first. USO. So oil broke some resistance here. It's above the 5-day moving average and looks like it's heading for maybe 35.50. It looks like. Let's take a look at the daily chart of oil. So oil, a lot of people are looking for for this thing to break down. They've been shorting it in here. This could end up being a bear trap in here. So if you're short oil, be careful, because we are still below these moving averages. But it broke this important support, and now the shorts are trapped under there. The longs who gave their position away might be reconsidering and going into that and saying, "Hey, I want my oil back." And that's how bear traps develop in the psychology of those. So let's just go to the screen, and we can see here that where am I? UNG is also going. So the point I was going to start to make was that on a day like today, when I see the market really just starting to sell off quickly, my first course of action is always defense. I look at what do I have, and I had, coming in today, I had some Jamba, JMBA. I tweeted an entry right in here yesterday, and I'd sold a portion of it up here. And first thing I do is I look at basically what I consider these junk stocks, and sell first and ask questions later. So I got out of Jamba Juice. I also got out of NGAS. I had gotten involved in this one yesterday at 241, and took a little bit off, but I got out of that immediately as well. Now, NGAS really doesn't have a bad-looking chart, and I didn't think it was going to get destroyed, but again, I'd rather just sell first and ask questions later when I see the market coming in so quickly. And in particular, once you start to see this happen right here at about 9:40 Eastern time, that's when we really saw things get bad, and that's where the advanced decline. You just don't see these types of movements once we've already started to consolidate. Now, first thing in the day on the advanced decline line, you do see some of this activity where we have the what am I trying to say? I'm sorry. Where we have the market just opening, looking at how many stocks are advancing and declining and that sort of thing. But so when you see that big of a movement, it's really a reason to be somewhat concerned, I guess. So we're looking at this market now in kind of stabilization mode. And I had also been involved in ADSK and had a small position in there, and I sold that one pretty quickly as well. And a good thing, because what turned out to be about a 10-cent loss could have been more than 80-cent loss or something. And to me, it's just I would always rather just move on very quickly. And I'd also recommended this stock for subscribers yesterday. It's GMXR, and GMX Resources still looks like a bullish chart here on the daily time frame. It got that initial pop right in here, and I had suggested raising a stop to $15.10 just in the interest of being conservative. Unfortunately, we got stopped out with that. And now it's moving once again. But again, sell first, ask questions later, and then you can always make a re-entry. So for instance, on GMXR, it ran up, it consolidated, broke the daily VWAP, came down, stopped us out, and now it's back above that daily VWAP. So after that shakeout, the buyers did take control, and here's that second chance entry basically where it looks like the buyers are back in control. So that one still I would keep an eye on. I would also say, a couple of the stocks that I'm involved in right now. I said Coeur d'Alene Mines. I'm also involved in Nova Gold Resources. This is one I'd mentioned to subscribers last night as well. But my entry on this was basically what I had just described in the other one. So I didn't chase this stock as it began to rally. It broke some resistance here on a 10-minute time frame. I didn't chase it, but instead I waited for it to pull back and then recapture the daily VWAP. So I'm long right in this area. And Coeur d'Alene Mines as well, same type of entry right here. You can see on a 10-minute time frame, it looked like it was breaking some resistance as it gapped higher. It pulled back. It's testing. It's on that 5-day moving average, and I'm long at about $19.14, I believe. Couple of the other stocks that I'm looking at today, and then I'll see if you guys got something you want to look at. I'll take a look at the at Twitter, but I'm also involved in a small way in this recent IPO, A1 Systems or A123 Systems. If you look at this, since the company came public, which was just 5 days, today's its 5th day. If we take a look at the volume weighted average price, it basically recaptured it yesterday, and it held as support right in there. So today it showed some strength early on, and you can see the same type of pattern in here where it rallied initially, pulled back, got below the daily VWAP, and I'm long at $20.05 right now. So that's not one that I had mentioned for subscribers to keep on their watch list because it's a new issue, and it's just something that that I just started looking at today. A couple of stocks that look like they might have a potential to get going are this HGSI. Hasn't done anything for a while. You can see it's riding its declining 5-day moving average. So it's holding in here. I think it probably really needs to clear about this level before HGSI can get going higher. But if it can get above that level, I think HGSI could potentially break out here. So that's worth keeping an eye on. It hasn't done anything in a while, but holds up well. I've been telling subscribers that I really like this Vivus. I read a little bit about the company. They have this obesity drug, and take a look around. It's obviously there's a need for a drug like that out there. And anyways, they had some kind of approval from the FDA right here. I've read that, of all the obesity drugs, apparently these guys have the best one. The cons are it might be a little expensive, but you look at the weekly and the monthly time frame, you can see it broke past almost a decade worth of more. In fact, it was a decade of resistance in here. So this thing has just been dormant basically, and just woke up on huge volume. Before a week or so ago, I had mentioned, it looked like it was going to get going in here, but I'd said, it probably needs to consolidate a bit because they had done a secondary offering at $10.50 a share, and a lot of times that will drag on the stock for a little bit. So they did their secondary offering, and it was well received on this day. But it did come back down through the offering price, and that's good to see because what happens is it gets all the initial profit takers out, all the quick flip it, hedge funds that get involved at $10.50 a share. They say, okay, well, as long as it doesn't break the bid, we'll stay with this. It breaks the bid, and then some bigger institution, it moves into stronger hands basically. So you've got the real investors in this company who believe in it. And now you can see it's, the 5-day moving average is declining, and they must have got some kind of news today because it gapped up. It's consolidating in here just a little bit right now, and I actually own some call options on this that expire in October, the third week of October. But it's a lottery ticket play basically. I bought some of the 12.5s at 20 cents, so it's got a long ways to go, obviously, but when these biotech stocks get going, they can get going real good. I actually own some of the 10s as well. I own some of the 10s and the 12.5. So I think that it's worth keeping an eye on today. Maybe getting back above this level here at about 1074, 1075, then we can see it continue to push higher this afternoon. But I would keep an eye on Vivas. As far as the short side goes, AGP was one I'd suggested to subscribers last night, breaking below here. That it looked like it could continue down towards about 21 and a half. That target's been hit. It's still, the stock still looks good on the short side, but with shorts, I think you've always got to be a little bit more careful. For instance, I was talking about shares of Yum Brands. YUM is the symbol, and Yum looked like it was good gay sounding symbol too. It reminds me of Rob Schneider in I shouldn't admit this, but the hot chick when he orders a drink. But anyway, he says Appletini. Anyway, off subject. This stock broke some support here. It's finding some resistance, and it looked like it was going to break down below this recent support. So I was looking at this as a potential short. Initially, it was weak, and I said, look, it probably needs to get below 32.50. It did briefly, but then it ran right back up. So you have to be, again, very careful with these shorts that they can look like death, and then they can turn them right around very quickly. But some of the ones that do still look vulnerable, DGX, this is Quest Diagnostics. You look at a weekly time frame, it's a mess, but it looks like we've got a declining 10, 20, 50-day moving average. It's trying to hold this 200-day, but I'm not convinced by it. I take a look at the volume-weighted average price, okay, since this breakdown right here. You can say, so since it broke here, the average price is about 53.30. So the average person's losing money since that point. You can even go back to September 1st and see that the volume-weighted average price is about 52.76. You can look at this strength here, both of these. So from this point, the average price was about 52.75. So it tells me that people got excited and pushed the stock higher on this move and this move, but the average participant who got long in that area is now losing money. So obviously, that's something that that weighs on the psychology of those longs who are losing money. The shorts realize they're regaining control. You look at this, the 5-day moving average was rising. It started to flatten out. Yesterday it was declining. The stock found resistance right at that declining 5-day moving average. And now we're seeing a pattern of lower highs and lower lows. I wouldn't necessarily short it right here. I'd suggest that maybe subscribers short it below this level, and maybe it needs to recover a little bit now, and then come back down through the daily VWAP. You can see it is above the daily VWAP, but that's one that looks vulnerable to me, as does Tandem, TNDM. Tandem, hasn't really begun this second leg lower on the weekly time frame, and on the daily time frame, you can see it dropped on increasing volume. So there was heavy fear on the way down. The subsequent rally, the volume was diminishing, showing less demand, and now it looks like it's just kind of looping over. So it was broken below the 5-day moving average. The 5-day moving average is flattened out, and here we can see that we had a nice breakdown, and now we're seeing this nice little bearish flag forming. So this is one that I've got a very close eye on. The problem with this stock is, if you take a look here, you'll see that the average daily volume is, well, it's about 1 million shares. Today it's only traded 73,000 shares, but it averages about 1 million shares over the last 20 days. I think that getting back below probably 22.50 or so, you could short this with a stop at 22.65, the stop being the most important part of that. By the way, I'm just looking here. I'm seeing a lot of, here's my, new high, new low ticker for the day. And you can see there's a lot of, Atlas, ATLS is Atlas Energy. We've got some technology in there with F5. The refiners look like they're stronger. I'd seen Valero flowing through there, WNR, and what was the other one? Valero, WNR, and I forget the other one. But anyways, natural gas, UNG is making highs for the day. So we are getting some strength right now, and even KeyBank. So let's just take a look real quick at these markets, see if we're getting some recovery. So we are getting a little bit of recovery. From where? From an oversold bounce. From an oversold conditions here. Also, I passed on this one, but MVIS really making a nice run in there. The daily time frame on MVIS, I've been talking about this one to subscribers. It's just had this really nice tight consolidation in here on diminishing volume, and today it broke this recent resistance on a gap. It consolidated, broke the daily VWAP right here, and now it's off to the races. So there are pockets of strength in this market. And the other one, like I said, that I'm long currently is Coeur d'Alene Mines. I just wanted to take a quick look at the IYR, for instance. IYR, this is the second shoe that was going to drop all year. We've seen a nice bounce from this 42 level, and I think it cracks 42 again, then the good times are over for the IYR for a while. We've got this trend line that kind of comes in at that same level, so I think breaking 42 would be something that gets this stock down to at least 42 bucks. So for SRS players, keep in mind the 50-day moving average is still advancing, and that's something to be aware of. But I think they're starting to show a little bit more vulnerability based on we had this high, we had resistance up here at 45, support broken at 44, did become resistance. We've got a strong move from there, and we're getting a little bit of flagging activity in here, and you can see that it was down on increased volume, and now it's rallying on diminishing volume. This is very vulnerable, so don't think that don't get sucked into that type of strength, because it's very short-lived typically. How about for safety partner, look at IBKR. Interactive Brokers, it's in a nice uptrend above the rising 50-day moving average, and weekly time frame looks like it's still got some room to go. I like the way this IBKR holds up on a 30-minute time frame. Looks like maybe it's pulling back a little bit in here. Had a little bit of resistance at this level. So it's pulling back a little bit. It might need to settle in above the 5-day moving average and then get going over the next couple days or so.